So I came back from Africa and phoned up a friend. They had a conference in his church. I went up there to Newport. And Casey Treat, who runs a fantastic ministry in America, quite well known. And he said, for you guys, he said that I just setting out. And I thought, well, that's me. He said, you won't establish, he said, 20 years is your first hurdle. He said, if we make it to 20, he said, you're highly likely to make it to 25. And he said, once you get to 25, that's the point you start establishing. Come on, you're in for it for the long haul. This is not a sprint, this is a marathon.
The first 25 years of Church on the Move has been and gone. We're now established, but what exactly does that mean? What are God's plans past this significant milestone? Do we dare believe that the Lord is about to do something incredible with us?
First 25 years, it was massive changes really. My mum brought me to Church on the Move when I was about 1 or 2 years old, so little baby. We were in this place, we were in the town hall, I think for the first sort of 10 years. I think some of my earliest memories really was I'd be about 4 or 5 years old. I'd have a little guitar standing by the worship team and I'd take it very seriously. I'd be up there, kicking my leg, going for the worship. And yeah, they were good times. I think there were sometimes more people in the band than there was in the congregation, but yeah, it was good times. And that was sort of for the first 10 years. There wasn't really any youth or anything. It was just, for me, I would just go on the Sunday night. Then we moved to this place in the Mission Hall. Started sort of early teens, then getting involved with the Sanctuary was here, so that was a bit of a youth group. So started playing on the worship team. From that, then ended up playing on the worship team with Church on the Move. Things started getting set up slowly, so we had the choir. I think I sang in the first choir, actually, and then I think I was like, I can't actually sing, so they put me on the band. And yeah, to be honest, since being in the Mission Hall, it's grown massively. And it's been awesome to see, for especially other people, and just seeing the things that I didn't have, because Church on the Move was very in its infancy, to now being, you know, more of an established church. Yeah, with different opportunities. It's been a journey, but it's been good.
So one of the first things that you've got to get a grip of is that not my will be done, but your will, Lord. Sometimes people want to do things because I want to do it. I want to be on a platform. I want to be this. I want to be that. That's the wrong attitude. That's never been the attitude of Church on the Move. The attitude of Church on the Move is, Lord, nail my ear to the doorpost. I'm going to be kicking and screaming, going there. But I made up my mind. Anything it takes to get this done, I'm your man. I've made my mark. I made my decision. My gosh, I may tell you, time seems to slip by so quick. But coming into 27th year now, which is something. But I think since that 25 years, things began, and I'd say that word was faithful to us. 25 years, that's when you can really begin to take account of what God's done. So since that 25 years, things have changed. Things have changed tremendously. Sadly, some people couldn't walk with us beyond that 25 years. And they've had to find another way, and that's okay, But all of a sudden, God began to bring new people in. All of a sudden, the ones that have been with us a long time, they felt, something changed within them, I think, and they felt, I need to take hold of this. Something's beginning to develop differently. And so we've seen quite a lot of growth, but not just, numbers growth, but I think growth within people.
In the first Church on the Move documentary, we introduced you to Joel. Although so much had changed for him up until that point, there was still more that God wanted to see fulfilled in Joel's life. Since then, his journey of discovering the importance of friendship and belonging has led him to stepping into the eldership of Church on the Move.
December time, 24. Everything came to a head in my life, I think. And I knew that there was much more, and I needed to seize a hold of something. But I felt that what I needed to seize hold of was unobtainable. And that was pastor. I know God's called me to pastor. And I'm doing that, and I was doing that at this time as well, elements of that. But never thought my place was as a pastor in the church, if you want to look at it like that. And so one Sunday night, we're talking, and Faith and Anne came over, and they said, we're waiting. And I was like, you what? So, but I'm paraphrasing it. Basically, we're waiting for you to do what you're meant to be doing and step into it. And I was like, oh my goodness, there is. So I met with Pastor John the same week, and I said, look, I know God's called me to do this, and I really want to step in, you know, what will this look like? How? And I remember John saying, and it was one of the most beautiful things, if you want, I've been told, and that was, I don't want it to look like me, Joel. You be you, and do what God's telling you to do, and let it take its shape from that. I don't want a copycat of what I'm doing. And it just gave that liberty and freedom to be uniquely me, and just walk that out. And, you know, for me, it was a nod of a spiritual father in my life. And that was a very precious moment in my life, especially since the loss of my own dad. You know, having that spiritual father to come alongside and say, hey, we're in this together, but make it look like what God's telling you to do, was amazing. And my life changed from that moment.
It's easy to hold on to it. In fact, somebody said to me the other day, you know, do you feel comfortable with having given it away now, or handed it into other people's hands? And I said, you know, are you happy with that decision? And I said, yes, I'm completely happy with it. I said, the only thing that I would be concerned about is not making a choice and not making a decision. And that's what scares. That is a scary thing. That if you sort of get to a point, you don't understand, you're not aware of the seasons changing. You're not aware that, hang on, things have got to alter now. Things have got to grow. A little bit of wisdom that I learned from somebody a long time ago. Healthy things grow, and growing things change. It's obvious, you see it in nature. But when things are established, when you've put a lot of work into it, a lot of tears sometimes, a lot of laughter along the way as well. But sometimes those things where you can become, it's yours, you know. And let me tell you, that is wrong. That's where, right across the land, we've got fellowships that were started great. But it's not about starting great. It's about finishing great. We call it a finish. I have fought the good fight. I have run the race. So God was preparing me that at some point, you've got to let it go. You've got to hand it into other people's hands. Not that I've gone away anywhere. I'm still part of it all. But it's almost right now that, I say another saying that I like to use is that take hold of it, but hold it lightly.
For the people of Church on the Move, that is exactly what we did. We took hold of God's promises and seized every opportunity to put our hands to the plough and sow into our church, our community and town. And the results have been more than we could have ever imagined.
I think it's exploded in the last year, really. I think there's been a lot of, whereas it was before just maybe at church on a Sunday and sort of John's Bible study, which is awesome, but I think there's been more ministries popping up for everyone, really. You've got the Help House on the Monday, you know, we've just had a men's breakfast, you know, just for the guys to get together. There's the women's on the Wednesday, you know, just different ministries for different needs, really, which there wasn't before. Like I said, the youth group, especially in the last year, when I first joined, there was about 6 or 7 kids. You know, we've had over 20 now. And yeah, God's been good. I think just meeting the needs, really, of the people in Neath.
Well, I think the change is unprecedented. And you couldn't define the change. I think it's a matter of you just got to walk it out. And then you have to pinch yourself because things are just so dramatically changed. I think in a year, our numbers have definitely grown. I was going to say doubled. It wouldn't surprise me if we're not far off from that, actually. And you know, for us, it seems the absolute randoms. So, you know, the foundation, let's talk about the foundation. Obviously, John was pastor here. Faith was doing that. We were all working together. And then part of that, I think, was I had to step into what God had called me to do and pastor, and that's happened. I think that the emphasis on community has become right at the forefront. And what I love about it is we haven't decided what that looks like. We just have worked on the basics of, well, we need to be able to communicate with people. We need to lift up the Lord. This isn't about having a man-made strategy. This isn't about a man-made gospel arrangement, and that we have to go out on the streets and we have to do this and we have to use our works in order to have increase. No. God gives the increase. And I think that's very much our testimony over the last year. God has given increase. Why? Because we have lifted him up and brought him to the center. And I think that is the testimony of this house. And so we have. It's been forging relationships, even with the ones that not necessarily you always want to have relationship with. But it's like, this is to everybody who's willing to go. And so we have found that, and relationships have been forged and are continuing to be forged. But this has drawn members of the community, literally just passing by the church or having a look at the social media, not because anybody's talked to them necessarily, but they have just been drawn to it and said, I need to go there, I don't know why. And they've turned, come here, heard the gospel, given their lives to the Lord, transformed their families, and there's a families come in. And this has replicated itself across the board and is continuing to. And I think that is the community emphasis of the church. We are here for the community. And that is for Neath and its surrounding boroughs, if you like. But we want to see the community impacted. And I think, we are seeing that in unprecedented terms, and it's just one yes at a time, and we're moving forward and things are changing. It's chock-a-block here. That's not because we're making meetings for the sake of it. It's literally we're facilitating what needs to be done in order to have a presence in the community and do what God has asked us to do. And I think it's amazing.
What brings me to Church on the Move? Many things. Coming to Christ, first of all, 2 years ago, and then on part of my journey I bumped into Pastor John, and first time I came here, I thought it was not strange, but a bit different, because when I went to church when I was a kid, you sit down and you do what you're told, and in here, it was worship in action, and I haven't looked back since. I've been coming here now for 2 years, and I love it here, and I wouldn't go anywhere else.
It's changed my life, really. And I was introduced to the church through Rory. Used to work with him. So I come along one Sunday, and I'm look back. I don't miss a day, really. I can't miss a day. Just building a relationship between obviously me and the Lord. It's brilliant, really. Yeah.
Well, in that process of understanding change, and the Word of God's big into this. It said about the early church, and we want to get back to early church principles sometimes. And people got their own versions of that, and we end up with different structures. But one of the things that really hit home to me is that it says, recognize those among you. And so sometimes we are quick to buy in or to hire somebody in, and we often overlook what God's been doing among the people that have been walking with you for a long time. They've seen you at your best. Some of them have seen you at your worst. Some of them have been there when there's hardly been anybody, sort of responding or getting hold of the vision. They've seen it. They've tasted it with you. And so all that God was saying to me was, just look around you, it's there. And again, we have to understand that God's blessings, we can look outside, we can look here, we can look there, but He's started things a long time ago. And everything you need is always to hand. And so that process was there. It was just recognizing, really, those that had been willing to put their hand to the plow, those who had been willing to get and do something, and to take part in those things, and to develop their own ministries alongside it. And it's always recognizing. The church recognized those that were among them, and they appointed them.
You cannot have the new without the old. Look at the Bible. You have the Old Testament. The Old Testament pointed to the New Testament. The New Testament completed the Old Testament. You have to have the two. And so it's absolutely awesome, having a spiritual father where I can glean and learn from, but also have that nod and say, go on, it's okay. got your back. And I hope that that is the reverse of that for John, that there's someone there, it's like, I need somebody just to carry the weight of this, or I need somebody to be the boots on the ground with this and carry something that, you know, although we're doing it together, but the physical nature of something, I can take that on. So that's not become a burden for him. And so it's fulfilling each other's path. John, by being present, is fulfilling my destiny with me. And I hope that me being present with John is fulfilling the outstanding destiny that is on his life, of which there is much. So it's a massive important. We cannot do away with one for the other. We have to have the two. Please, folks, build on the two. We need it. So one thing in regards to the community that is especially pleasing and amazing to see is the men. And in particular, the younger men, you know, in the 20s, you know, late 20s, early 30s perhaps. There is a grasping and saying, I am going to seize a hold of God and not let him go. And there's this warrior spirit that's rising up in this generation of men. This uncompromise that's rising up in this generation of men. And it's not been taught about as such. It's not been done through seminars or because they have heard something and said, I need to do it. God is revealing himself in unprecedented terms in these days. And I really believe this move of God that we are anticipating and beginning to see, it is all his. It's not down to a man. It's not down to some men. It's not down to a woman. It's not down to the woman. It's down to God himself revealing himself to communities, a congregation of people that will come together in one mind and one chord. And that's what I'm seeing with this young men. They're willing to put aside differences for the sake of Jesus and come together. They're willing to put aside differences in doctrine in order to pursue Jesus. They're willing to lay down even their careers and livelihoods and their desires to pick up their cross and follow Jesus. Nobody's told them that. They're just doing it. And it is absolutely tremendous to see. And God's doing it.
Yeah, I think for me, I've brought up in church, you know, and I think my old man, when he had the aneurysm, it was the rubber hit the road kind of thing. I think I'd come in church, we'd sing songs about healing and things like that. But I remember one Sunday we were singing, I can't even remember what the song was, but it was a song about healing. And it was like, oh, I need him to be a healer for me and my family now. And it wasn't something that, you know, I'd sort of, you know, experienced myself really. And I was like, Lord, I need you to know. I've sung about you being the healer. I need you to show up.
In 2022, Joel's father suffered a brain aneurysm, which led him to being in a coma for 6 months and in hospital for over a year. This incident had a significant effect on Joel's family, but for Joel, it changed him and his relationship with God.
God used that experience really to shape me and think, right, you know, I need to, it's neck or nothing really. I need to fully get involved with this now and just change the way I'm living and live for Christ more. Because I was in the church, but I was doing worldly things as well. And yeah, looking back, God was good and he uses everything for our blessing really. And he turned my whole family's life around, to be honest. With everything on my own man, I think the biggest thing for me was that there was a nurse that came up and sort of tapped me on the shoulder. We'd had the death talk and he was basically dead. They were keeping him alive. And a nurse came and sort of tapped me on the shoulder and just that kind of, she didn't say anything, but it was that kind of thing of, he's gone really. Fast forward a couple of months down the line, we're walking my old man out and she ran up and grabbed me and was like, I don't know what this is, but it's a miracle. And that was awesome for me. And it just sort of reaffirmed my faith that, yeah, God, you are a healer. You know, you've done this for me. During that time as well, to mention, I actually had a word from the Lord when we had this sort of death talk. The Lord gave me the word of, whose report are you going to believe? And I think it was like, look, we don't deny what's going on here, but what does the word say? He is the healer. He is going to turn all things for our good. And it was just putting my trust in the Lord, really. A few people in church, Joel Dorman gave me a word about just being like, keep your eyes flint on the Lord, just keeping it focused. And I just held on to that, really. John's been, going through the tabernacle stuff for years, and I think me and my mum applied that to us. Whenever we had a call that my old man was having an operation, I'd go up the house and we'd just pray, get a word, and just take communion and just give it to the Lord, really. And I still do that today. So yeah, it's massively shaped my walk with the Lord.
As a result of this, Joel saw that there was a need for a Bible study for new believers and those who want to go back to the basics. So he started up a new ministry called Foundations. In just a short space of time, Foundations has flourished and is continuing to blossom.
Yeah, I think my friend Dylan and I, we'd come to John's Bible studies, and it was just a challenge, really, of just, there's a lot of new people coming to church, and we just saw a need that, to set something up just back to basics. So we thought about doing the Alpha course, and we actually called it Alpha for the first few weeks, but we weren't really doing it. It was basically just back to the roots of Christianity. What is this? What do we believe in? And just things, I think, for myself, I've been in church for, 25 years, all my life. Just this Monday now we talked about grace. And for new people, they might not fully understand what grace is. So it was that thing of just going back to basics, what the core beliefs really of Christianity is. So yeah, that was the heart behind it, really. And just God's been faithful, God's been good with it. I think we started out with 4 people, and that was fine. The prayer was always that the right people would be there. And God's really blessed it. I think we had over 20 now on Monday just gone. And I think it's definitely shaping myself and Dylan. The first time we did it was a bit of a panic thing. We were just chatting for an hour, didn't really know what to say or do. But as we've done it more often, the last been 3 months now, it's become more conversational. And yeah, it's just allowing different people to just get involved as well. One of the girls who started coming, she's a singer, so we do worship every now and again, and she led a song. So it's just back to basics, but letting people just share what's on their hearts as well, and what, just discussions really of what's going on with their life. We've done testimony night, which is awesome, and just letting people share what Jesus has done in their life.
How Jesus has changed my life in the last few months. In a very positive way. It's, I believe it's made me look completely different on life. I've tried, from reading the Bible, I'm trying to live the way that the Bible says, and it's definitely a better way of life. I find myself not lying as much or trying to fit in with other people as much, not caring about what other people think so much, but what God thinks or what I think that God thinks in my own mind. He's definitely positively impacted my life. I don't get so offended from what people have to say anymore. I don't really care, to be honest. They can say what they want, and I also think in bad situations, I always think, what would Jesus do? And I think that's definitely guided me in the right direction. It's definitely helped me become more understanding and patient, especially with my home life and stuff. So that's good. That's how Jesus has helped me.
Church on the Move has welcomed a large number of new Christians in the year since we hit 25 years. And for one couple, their lives have been turned upside down. Tyler and Neve have built long-lasting friendships, made life-changing decisions, and are now serving our church community in many ways. These last few months has been transformative for them and their daughter.
About a year ago, I started reading my Bible again. Wasn't really looking to get into a church or anything. But as time went on, more and more of you should lean on your own understanding and how good fellowship is, and you could feel a bit lonely. It was literally just me up the mountain, just talking with God, reading my Bible on my own. And then in work, Joel would always come in, and I knew that he was a Christian, so I would talk to him about some stuff, and he would always say oh, you should come one day, you should come one day. And then the first thing I actually came to was a Bible study, and I loved it. It was awesome. I decided to stay when I came because it was very welcoming. Having my family come to Church on the Move as well as incredibly improved family dynamic, because we were both on the same page of I started reading my Bible. Tyler was a bit whatever. So I would always try and plant seeds, and I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to stop trying because I know that that can push people. I was like, I'm going to stop trying. I'll just pray on it. I'll just pray. And I just prayed. I prayed to God, like, please just show yourself to him. Please help him understand in a way that obviously I can't, like, show him. I came down one day and he was reading the Bible, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And then I told him I'm going to come to like a Bible study. He was like, cool. And then I was like, I'm going to go to the Sunday service. And he straight away was like, I'm not coming. I was like, didn't ask you to, but whatever, fine. He dropped me off and I could see him pondering. I could see him fighting in his head to come in or not. I was like, I'll leave it. He didn't. Next Sunday then, he came in. He loved it. And that's helped loads because being on the same page with everything, it's helped a lot.
It's nice to be able to have like-minded people to talk to, because you definitely, in my personal opinion, feel very out of place when you come to God and you're surrounded by people who haven't come to God. You do feel a little bit lonely, but it's nice to come to Church on the Move with a lot of caring people who have the same thought process as you. It's given me like something to look forward to the end of the week, you know. Every Sunday I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's like a refreshment, you know. I get to come here and feel great, and it is great because you go to work Monday to Friday and work sucks. So then you get to look forward to coming to church and spending time with great people, and I've obviously made a good few friends with a lot of the younger men who are in this church as well, and we've established a good group, like a good friendship between us, and it's kind of like, it's like a second family, really. It's great. You're all like looking out for each other, caring for each other, you know, that like people are praying for each other, and it's nice because I come from like the world where everyone's just so mean to each other. Everyone wants to take the mick out of each other, and people thrive off upsetting people, but in here with these guys and girls, they thrive off seeing people thrive, and it's a great feeling.
As you've seen throughout this documentary, there have been dramatic changes for Church on the Move, but this has just been the tip of the iceberg. What God has in store for us is more than we could ever think, dream or imagine. But what are the dreams of the leaders of Church on the Move for the next 25 years?
My hopes for Church on the Move in the next 25 years is we've seen it growing already, and I think it's just a glimpse, really. I think, just to see it, I don't want to put a number on, but just to keep on growing, really. More ministries set up, and whatever God wants to do with foundations and youth, which is what I'm involved in, just let him have his way and just, see where it goes with that. But growth, really. Just let God do what he's got to do.
What would I want to see this place do in the next 25 years? Well, one thing is for sure, I'd love it to be too small. And it's a vast building, you know, just looking behind me, you can see that. But then we got to go and build something else somewhere else to accommodate all that God's doing. But in 25 years' time, if the Lord hasn't come back by then, I'd love somebody to be in this position where I'm sitting by her and saying, this is one of our buildings. This is the Neath part of it, but we've got another building somewhere else that seats 50,000 people. I'm not sure. Let's dream. Let's go crazy, like, innit? The best is always yet to come. And I believe as well that the church, the end time church, is not going to go out just hanging on. Oh, you know, we're just holding the fort, as some of the old hymns used to say. I believe that the church, as I said, without spot and wrinkle, glorious bride, he's coming back for that glorious bride. So the church is heading towards days that it's never been. So here's to the next 25 years. Some of the best years are yet to come.
I think moving forward, and let's look at it. We know the church has been here for 25 years, and we know there are many years to come. And I know that I'm certainly here for the next 25 years. So what do I want to see? Do you know, my dreams, along with others here, because we talk about things, is to see the house of God at the centre of the community again. Yes, we're grateful for our healthcare and our doctors and our resources and our banks and everything. But, when I read Acts 4, not one member of the community lacked. They'd all come together in one accord, and none of them lacked. That's what I want to see. I'm desperate to see that. The provision of God on a scale that's unprecedented and provides for a community. And it's one thing that only God can do. It's not because somebody has given this and they get the credit. No. God alone gets the glory. And that's what I'm seeing. And I'm seeing, the church being the focal place of the community. It's the place where people go where they're hurting. It's the place where they go because there's a doctor's surgery there that will see them without any conditions on it. It's where people who are in need will go because, again, there's no conditions on it. They just know it's a place where, because God is, their needs are met. And there is a community of people that are like-minded and willing to journey life with them in order to see Christ come through in their lives in victory. And I see the whole caboodle, the kitchens, the staffing, the church being a bank. Yeah, the church being this place of influence, the church being the council, the church being the court place, the church being everything that a community needs in order to survive. That's what I see and I long for. And for growth, unprecedented growth. Not because we want bums on seats. Growth is much more than that. And we want, like we've said, we want to see the community impacted. So we want to see every member of this community of Neath being impacted with the gospel. And not only that may other communities, Bridgend, Swansea, it's like what's going on there, Merthyr Tydfil, right? Which affects the whole of South Wales. And then that affects Mid Wales and North Wales. And then that affects the United Kingdom, and that affects Europe and America and Australia and New Zealand. We know that God is doing something unprecedented, and we know that God has done this before. And we're not going or gleaning on what God has done before. We know He's going to do something new. We've not been this way before. We've just got to walk it out. We can't work it out. But I'm seeing that, and I'm longing for that, where there's this overflow like we have never seen before, and it just impacts absolutely everything. And this church is a lasting legacy, which it was created to be. And the destinies that were on Seth and Frank are fulfilled fully and completely, and that they can come to a rest with Frank and Seth, if you like, and we move forward with the destiny that God has. So we're not only fulfilling one, the old and the new again, but we're bringing the new, and it just takes, and for generations to come, this is a beacon, a lighthouse, a safe place, a sanctuary. Wow.
From expanding ministries to a growing congregation, this last year has been unlike any other for Church on the Move. Throughout the highs and lows, we've stuck to keeping our eyes on Jesus, and we know He is about to do something incredible in our town of Neath and the surrounding communities. In June 2024, we celebrated 25 years of Church on the Move, and Joel came with a prophetic word that encourages us to keep on pursuing Jesus and the call of God on our lives, both individually and as a church. This is what Church on the Move is all about.
The last 25 years, John and his family have walked this call obediently, and a lot of the time, alone. The prophetic was carried by John, knowing that if he did not fulfill what God had called him to do, others would not fulfill theirs. And now we are here. Look around, with people who will walk with you, John, who take responsibility for this church and will keep honouring who you are. And just at the end of this, a few things that God just dropped in. The foundation is laid, appointed and founded, established, firmly planted, its roots grounded, and much fruit is to flourish and grow. It is stable and unshakable. Though things will still need to be forged, the emphasis of forging is different now. And I saw a picture of a sword, and it's been forged and forged. It's been forged for 25 years. but the Lord is presenting the finished item, and it is a sword of beauty. And the Lord is saying, now the forging is about not the item, because the item is here, but now the forging is about keeping it sharp and maintained. The ancient wells of our forefathers in the faith have been unblocked, and they are founded. You have moved, and you are no longer at Esek. The deeds are yours, and no more will quarrels be over, no, this is ours. Thank you. No, it is not. It is the deeds are ours. The Lord has given it. There will be no more friction over the lands. And you are no longer at Sitnah, where hostility and animosity and ill will are found. The spiritual Jezebels and Absaloms that have tried to bring contention and produce cracks in the foundation and cracks in the well have been removed. It is a new day, says the Lord. This is where you are founded now, Rehoboth, the well of Rimmanath. For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Now the Lord says, build, build, build. Sharpen, sharpen, sharpen. Gather, gather, gather. Store up, store up, store up. Bless, bless, bless. Form a community, form a community, form a community. He says, feed, feed, feed. The season has changed. The east wind has done what it was sent to do. Judgment has been in the house, and the things that needed to be resolved have been. And the Lord is saying the south wind is starting to come and blow, and it will bring restoration. It will bring refreshing, it will bring reviving, it will renew, it will make you fruitful, it will bring prosperity, it will nourish you, and it will comfort you. For the Lord says, I have made straight paths for you, and you are obstacle free. This is your Isaiah 35 moment.